And good afternoon, everybody. Hi, I'm Tina Brock, your host for Into the Absurd, and so very glad that you have joined us today in the Zoom room or on Facebook Live. And we're going to be taking a trip down memory lane today with some very favorite folks from IRC shows past that you've enjoyed and have brought these wonderful absurdist characters to life. And we'll introduce them in just a couple of minutes. You know, and you will recognize them. If you're joining us on Zoom today, thanks so much for being here. And we welcome your questions in the Zoom chat. And if you're coming with us into this conversation on Facebook Live, welcome to you. And thanks so much for being here. We want your questions as well today. You know, I'm coming to you today from Paris, which was a meeting place for so many of the absurdist or the folks in the loosely defined school of the absurd, which included Eugene Ionesco, Samuel Beckett, Boris Vian, so many wonderful authors whose works we've presented to you over the years. And I thought it would be just a nice day to take a trip down and think about the possibilities that will happen when we come back on the stage, whenever that will be in 2021. And as I take my walks during the day around the city of Philadelphia, it was bittersweet as I see many of the venues that the IRC has performed in, which are not here anymore. Society Hill Playhouse, where we first did the chairs back in 2009, took a jaunt down and past Mum Puppet Theater on Arch Street, and then over, of course, to the Walnut to make sure it's still there, and it is, of course. And then past the National, down in Old City, where so many Fringe festivals happened for so many years. So it's a way of staying connected to the thing that we all care about so much. And things will be very different when we come back on the stage. And we're so looking forward to being there with you. One way in which things will be very different when we come back on the stage is that there will be fewer IRC supporters in the audience. And today's show is dedicated to two of these wonderful souls who have been so integral and important in the IRC's journey for the last 16 years. Sadly, we lost two very important supporters, Johnny Tint and Askold or Ozzy Zagars, in the last couple of months. And this show today is in the spirit and the joy of how important they were to the work that we did here at the IRC. And so I'd like to take just a couple of minutes to remember them and how beautiful their spirits were in the audience and for helping us as a small theater company, which is so very important to the work that we do. It's knowing that this family is going to be there for us. Johnny Tint, who's the wife of Dr. Stephen Tint, was always with us here at the IRC from the very beginning, back in 2009. And I'll never forget, Bob and I are getting ready to do the chairs in 2009 over at the Society Hill Playhouse. And we hear a knock on the door, and they were there early to be there with us and for us in that very first sort of grand scale production that we did at Society Hill. And the years following, Johnny was there bringing wonderful gifts and things to us, makeup brushes that she had found that she thought someone in the cast would be able to use, scarves that she thought could adorn someone's costume. This was the spirit and the joy and the sensibility. And one thing I'll say, Johnny was always there, always with us, but she was very clear about the shows she did like and the ones that didn't so much hit the mark with her, but always supportive and always there. And I think we'll be talking about a couple of shows today that were very special in her heart and in her mind. Askold Ozzy Zagars, he and his wife Marie Vian have been there almost around the same time since the very start. And it just wasn't an opening night or a show without Oz there. I thought of him as a gentle giant. He was extraordinary in his love of the work that we did and in his quietude and just presence there. I often thought of him in the same way I imagined Samuel Beckett to have been, just really deeply understanding the work in a very profound way and communicating and emanating that from the front row. And for the many, many years that he and his wife Marie joined us and were with us and supporting us along the way, I will always be so indebted to that rigorous intellectual discussion that we would have post-show, and just knowing that an opening night wasn't going to happen without those two dear souls. in the front row. So I just want to say that things will not be the same, but we hope their spirits are shining down on us, and the many folks, many of whom you're going to see tonight and talk to tonight, and their spirits helped us to get to this place, and I am so very indebted. With that in mind, we look forward to 2021, and oh, there we go. Let's review a couple of photos of them. There you see Dr. Steve and Johnny and Joan, friend Joan there, and so many people at the Bald Soprano back in 2017. At the Bethany Mission Gallery, of course, Victor Keane and Jean Ruddy being so very supportive and generous to lend us their space. And let's move to the next one, Erica. We've got the next one. There we go. That was Betty's Summer Vacation, which was pretty recently, back in, I want to say a year ago, 2019, and with Jane Moore in tow. And that's Johnny there on the left and Dr. Steve. And there we go. There's Oz and Marie in just a beautiful photo, and a wonderful smile and a countenance that was so indicative of every time we saw him in the room and the joy that he brought to the room. And so delighted. And there's another photo from, I believe it might have been the Bald Soprano at the same time, 2017, or it might have been even 2020. So we thank them and their families for being in our world and helping us to navigate. It's so very important what audiences do for the development of art and culture, and will be forever indebted. Now, as we moved on to 2021, in thinking about what that opening night will look like, I am so very delighted to bring to the table today to have a little bit of a walk down memory lane with some of my very favorite absurdist folks that I've had the pleasure of working with, so many over the years. These guys keep turning up in shows, and there's a reason for that. And we'll talk more about that in just a couple of minutes. But for now, I am so very delighted to welcome Miss Jane Moore, Mrs. Sonja Robson, John Zach, and Tomas Dura to the IRC table. Welcome, welcome, people.
Hi.
Hi, my phone went off.
Yes, it did.
Oh,
You have
no.
fans, Jane Moore, always trying to find you. Well, thank you all so very, very much for being here today, and for just helping us get through the winter. I think, we're sort of, it's almost been a year since we were on the stage with the Bald Soprano back in 2020. And we'll get to the Bald Soprano in just a couple of minutes, John, Sonja, and Tomas. I think where I'd like to start is, Jane, with you, and although anybody feel free to chime in at any minute, and folks chime in with your, everybody in the Zoom room and also on Facebook Live, chime in with your questions in the chat as well, and we'll get to as many as we can. Jane, you and Tomas, and we'll see, we've got a slideshow for everybody and a little bit of video in a little while as well. We'll see this in the photos that are coming up. But Jane, you and Tomas always find yourselves in plays where you are the soothsayer, or the town, the person in the town who carries the most wisdom. And I'm interested, and I'll start with you, Jane, interested in what that has been like for you over the years, to be the person not only in the rehearsal room but on the stage who carries the wisdom. And even in Eccentricities of a Nightingale, when with Mrs. Weinmiller, where you spoke and heard things in a different place, a different time, and from a different way. And I'm just interested in how you prepare, how you think about that.
Wow, that's really interesting, Tina. I mean, for one of them was just so out there. That is to say, Eccentricities of the Nightingale. She was just not in the same world, which was in a way true too with Enchantment. But they were both coming from very different places, of course. And I think the important thing for me is to just embody as best one can the essence of whoever it is that you've taken on. And I don't know, I loved both of them. And I remember so clearly when you were on stage with your mother, me, who was kind of out there, but with you at the same time. I don't know, they're just, I don't know. I somehow think there's just a lot of magic that happens, and it depends on how invested we are in that person, being the persona of that one being. I loved them both. I mean, I love being the shaman in in rather the enchantment, because I felt, I don't know, I think I felt a part of everybody who was there. They were like all under my care, and I could be there for them in a way without consciously being there for them, if that
Mm-hmm.
makes any sense. I mean, it wasn't, I don't think she was contriving.
Mm-hmm.
It's just who she was, and she had something she needed to do, and she did it. And of course, there were the puppets.
We're
And
going to
then
see.
I
We're
get
going to
to
see
them
some
later.
photos of the and a video of you and the puppets in this
Yeah,
hour. So,
but I just think it is loving who you are playing,
mhm.
finding the beauty in them when they don't look very beautiful. I mean, as in eccentricities. I mean, just you find the story behind what's given to you on the stage, but you just bring I just feel I need to bring whatever fullness there is to that being that I am portraying, and let them, it's going to sound silly, but let them work. And we all do it. I think we let them work on us, and
Mhm.
there emerges magic.
Isn't it funny how, and I'm thinking about John in eccentricities and also in Tomas for you playing Reverend Weinmiller, that working that magic does have an effect, I think, not only as the character, but also just in us as the actor underneath the character. Would you not agree? Like, I know having you in the room, Jane, in those roles, and Tomas, you playing the Schmerz in Boris Vian's show we did back in 2011, The Empire Builders, and we'll get to that in just a couple of minutes, where this is a situation where, Tomas is on stage the entire time in sort of rags, and he's the omnipresent thing in the room that nobody wants to recognize, but is the thing that's literally driving the play forward. It's the sound. Sonja was in that show as well, playing the maid, and we'll see some photos from that. But can you guys, let me go to you first, Tomas, and then John, I'll bring you back into the conversation, because I'm interested to hear your thoughts on that, playing John in Eccentricities. Tomas, when you were in the Empire Builders and playing and just on the ground the entire time, what did you build on, or how does one get their head around that absurd of a scenario?
Okay. Um, it the Schmerz was physically hard for me because it was a demanding role, physically demanding. Other than that, I felt it was a shoo-in. I don't know if you know Greg Giovanni. I used to be in some of his plays, and he often said I gave stage well rather than take stage. That was a problem he had with me as an actor, was I wouldn't dominate the stage. I would kind of give space. But I think that's what that character, that's why I say I fit right in there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because I was just kind of driving the play, but basically I didn't have any lines. I was like a fly on the wall who was there from the very beginning, first character on the stage, straight through to the end. And and I'll also say I have a similar identity with the deaf mute in Madwoman. He never had any lines. He couldn't even hear, but yet he was, again, like the omnipresent, not omnipresent, he wasn't on stage the whole time, but he knew what was going on in the town, with the protagonist and the antagonist. He knew exactly what was on their minds. He does speak at the end, where he shares a little bit of wisdom, just a touch, but enough. That's very beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
The orator, I see as one of the soothsayer things too, type characters. He was very different. And uh, oh, who else? Who's the other? The maid, Mary, the maid in
Oh, in the
Bald
Bald
Soprano.
Soprano. Mm-hmm.
Now I would say there are two different productions of the Bald Soprano. I used both of those identities. The first production, I was more like the fly on the wall, observing, like a good maid who stays in the background but knows exactly what's going on and is very wise, very keen on what's going on. The second production, she was more, she was a very different character. She was more involved. That's the way I portrayed her. And related, there was much more. I say maybe much more meat and potatoes in the second production for Mary. She talked more to the audience. It's in the script that she does talk to the audience, but like in her polypoid speech where she's running around, she delivered a lot more of that to the audience. The first production, I was relating a little more to the artwork on the walls as well as to the audience. And in the second production, I was relating to the artwork too. But it was almost like I was saying, do you get my message? I'm saying something,
Yeah, I mean, I think for just heading over to Bald Soprano for just a couple of minutes, and John, I'll circle back around to eccentricities in a little bit. The place that we were in when we did the Bald Soprano in 2017 was just having come off the election, right? We were about a year into it at that point, and I remember, we sat in rehearsal and we're trying to get our heads around the word salad that is Ionesco, that we have to sort of make sense of. We have to make it matter to us or make it understand. But in that production, as we'll see in the slideshow, we had a very buttoned down sort of approach to all of that, and really kind of just playing it as the Martins and the Smiths, as a dinner party, and what is happening. But in 2020, a very different kind of time where we're unraveling in sorts and sort of checking out, and we'll see that in the photos too. But can you guys speak a little bit, Sonja and or John, to sort of that process, or if we can remember that process of trying to work on the play and at the same time being so very affected by the world that we are living in, particularly say last year at this time in 2020? Sonja,
oh boy,
it's a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot. I mean, the beginning of 2020 was difficult enough as this was before the pandemic had really hit. We kind of heard about it. I remember we had started feeling a little bit nervous about, there's this weird sickness going around and we have to be careful, and, but there's all the political stuff too, and trying to bring that into the play. I don't know. I mean, we said it in the 60s the second time, and I know John and I, every time we did the Bald Soprano, we had to go through the lines 5 million times before the show, because I don't know if we ever really got the lines completely right. They were
Chad,
so hard to learn.
Our stage manager will be coming on in a little bit, and he can attest to that.
Yeah. But,
well, I think those lines were a disjointed hodgepodge, and in some way, and to touch on what Jane said about the magic, I mean, that I think is when you have a brilliant playwright, you're able to glean something from the words, and the playwright then gives you enough room to create the character that you create. And that's the brilliance of playwriting. And when you have a brilliant playwright who can do that. And that's where the magic comes in of actor meeting script. And with the Bald Soprano, we said it in a much earlier time, I guess post World War II, where
the first time.
This is 2017, right?
Yeah, 2017, and where it's a return to society running, the routine of society, the regular routine of daily life and daily living, and now everybody knows their place again. Whereas in the 2020 production, time had so much more to do with how the production went in terms of developing character. At the end of the play, where kind of comes off its wheels, in a sense. It's almost as if each of the characters were taking a stand or a point of view, as opposed to the other later version. As it was coming off the wheels, there was a sense of freeing, of release, of the unknown, that I think we captured in that in that production.
I think as something running through both productions, but in very different ways, is a sense of fear of what's going on, what is happening. You know, the post-World War, the first production, and then the one in the 1960s. There's sort of a fear and I don't know. I don't know how to. I'm not a word person unless somebody gives me a script, but trying to find a good word for it. But there was this desperate quality to both of them, in a sense.
Yeah.
I felt sort of wanting different ways to protect yourself. I don't know.
Well, that's sort of what we found, right? Through the costuming and through just the rehearsal of it. When you talk about the coming off of the wheels part, where the wheels come off at the end of the show, it's where the language devolves into such a place that it appears to make no sense on the stage, and yet you had to go into rehearsal and figure out why am I saying that word after this word or whatever. And in the 2020 production, the one we did last year, it felt a lot like, and we'll see in these photos coming up in just a couple of minutes, sort of like people being checked out in some way. Each of the characters just finding whatever it was they could find at their disposal to be able to get by. You know, to just make that work. John, there's just, you know what, maybe we should, Erica, go to just take a flip through some of these slides, and it's a bit like a home movie here, so you guys feel free to check in. I'm going to just sort of put place and time. Here's Miss Jane Moore in the Gnadiges Fraulein, which is a Tennessee Williams piece back in 2010, where she's singing at the end of the dock for her supper and ends up catching a fish. And it's the tale of the artist, you know, having to get by. Jane, that was great. I mean, that was, again, channeling a character that by all means understood and was telling the story straight away.
Say that again?
Well, I said you were telling the story straight away. You were the one in town. I mean, you were the one, you know,
right,
that could see with the eye patch and could kind of explain it to everybody, and a beauty queen to boot there with the sash. Let's move ahead. There we go. There's another one from the Gnadiges, from Leah Walton, Kelly Vrooman. And this was over great. At Second Stage at the Adrian, Jane.
Well, yep. And then the eye got plucked out, right?
Yeah. No. And Jesse's pointing out an incredible set. It really was. Lisi Stossel designed this set, and it really was, you know, a little known Tennessee Williams play that is really kind of, talk about off the wheels off on this one, a different Tennessee Williams than we know, but a very, very poetic in its.
I loved that play. That was so much fun.
In its way. Yeah. Let's move ahead, see what we got. Okay, so here we're moving on. Sonja in the front row there is the maid, Kate Black, Kirsten Quinn, Bob over there. This is Empire Builders, the Boris Vian play, and it's roughly the inhabitants of a house who are trying to flee from an unknown, as you can see, Tomas Dura's foot is coming out there right on the other side of Kate, near the chair, and Tomas is on stage all of the time, and what happens is the family moves up to further flights in the apartment building to try to escape this constant noise and constant presence of this thing, and it doesn't end well. Sonja, you're really channeling some.
I enjoyed that play so
You're
much.
channeling some Norwegian something there.
No, I just enjoyed it.
Keep Gnadiges is a great show.
Yeah.
Kirsten.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move ahead. Okay, great. So there's Tomas, right?
Wow.
In all of your gritty.
Yeah, I remember. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I remember one of the hardest things about that was every night having to wash all that stuff out of my hair. Like there was like caked up blood all over my face, and it's discreetly done, so you don't quite see what I'm talking about. But to walk out in public on the street, I had to like try to get all that off, all that makeup off. I was also really I was heavily padded too, like I had friends who saw the show and they said, have you gained weight? But it was all padding because I get beaten up a lot, so I had to be protected from it.
So yeah, I don't remember specifically. Did you end up, or Tomas, you would know, because did people end up kicking you? I mean, were you recognized?
You mean, was I actually physically?
Yes, by the other, I should know, I directed this thing and I can't remember.
Yeah, he was kicked. The only people that didn't kick him were me and the daughter.
Oh, okay.
We didn't kick him.
Right, but it was stage combat. The harder part was just crawling around on the floor all the time. If you're used to sitting in a chair and standing up, that's why I felt my bones were like aching from just like being on that hard surface. That's why I think I had so much padding, actually.
Yeah, that was just a spooky, interesting play. Yeah, let's move ahead, Erica. See what else we've got here. Oh, Sonja's going after me. We take that back.
Did I actually hit him? I don't remember.
Sure looks like it's Sonja.
Maybe you didn't kick him, but you sure slapped him around.
Good heavens.
I did.
I think you're going to show up in some Stephen King movie or something.
My gosh.
Oh,
I have no memory of that.
Yeah, well, I directed it. I can't remember. It was 2011, so that was quite a while ago.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, terrific. Let's go ahead. Oh, looks like Bob's wreaking havoc on Tomas.
He's getting his lick in. Tom,
you should be getting workers' comp definitely from this. Oh my.
Oh, but Tom, I've had a couple of roles where I'm on stage a lot, like throughout, and I find those to be so challenging. And I relish those kinds of you find the moments that you have, and you become part of the world, and there's a challenge of not doing too much, but not doing too little. And
yes, you can't.
And being in the moment.
You have to be in the moment 100% of the time, more or less, but you can't zone out. I think a lot of the productions have that. I remember Mad Woman, John DeLonzo and Kate were on stage pretty much the whole time too, but very quiet and standing in the background. The Deaf Mute too. And there were times when I wanted, I think in rehearsal where I might have yawned or something, Tina right away snapped her fingers and said, stay in character, you're on stage. If you're yawning when there's some action going on stage, the audience isn't going to watch the dialogue they're supposed to be listening to. They're going to watch the person who's yawning, who's not in the moment.
It's true.
Did I really snap my fingers, Tom?
Probably. You let me know. You made yourself clear.
Yeah,
you went up and kicked you.
I'm sure.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, let's move on. Oh, there we go. Oh, and remember Kate Black and that wonderful little doll. Oh, my Kirsten.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, what a show. People were like, where did you find this show? Let's keep going and see what else we have in store. More Tomas.
I don't remember wearing sneakers. That must have been a rehearsal.
That was a rehearsal.
Yeah,
I was barefoot.
No, you were in barefoot. Yeah, you were barefoot. Okay. Oh, Tomas delivering the very important message to to the old man, Bob, and me.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
another one. He didn't really say anything except for grunts and groans. He had guttural sounds to make, but he was kind of the one who wrapped the whole thing up at the end in a way and checked in with the audience saying, are you with us? Did you get any of that?
Mhm.
Or something,
But what's interesting is like so much of the material that we do, where you've got to take the word salad that Ionesco gives you and fully flesh it out so that it is so very important to you. And Tomas, when you were at that blackboard and spelling out on the blackboard, this is what this is at the very end, every night, no doubt that you clearly felt and understood what you were trying to say, what the orator was trying to
Yes,
say, which is
yeah.
all, a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, let's keep going. Okay. The aforementioned Enchanted that Jane talked about there, Tomas and Bob and David Stanger and Anna Lou and David Barland, who voiced the puppets, and Melissa Amalani there. This was a production still for that show.
Do you realize, Tina, that we opened that show in 2016, and we were all horrified at what was happening with that election?
Oh, the Enchanted?
Yes.
Yeah, well, I do think what's so interesting to me is to look back on it now, you all, as these political changes have come, and remembering that Ionesco, Giraudoux, these authors were writing this work in politically charged times, and how much you realize how important it is to have the story to tell, right?
Yes, I mean,
To have a place to go with it.
Yeah, no, it was prescient. Really was.
Look at this we staged at St. Mary's out in West Philly. And so like it was actually snowing out there.
Yep.
Joanna Austin, who took all of these pictures, is does such a wonderful job. But at this point,
She's great.
We had people throwing snow in from the side so we could create
I was
snowballs. Yeah, it's just another day at the IRC.
It's like
here.
an idiopathic Christmas card.
Yeah, it was. Look at
the
Melissa
IRC,
Amalani's face.
Christmas card for that.
So great. All right, let's keep going. And Bob in a hat. Oh my. Okay, here we go. So
What a
Melissa
costume.
Amalani
Oh my
and
gosh.
Jane. Yeah, beautifully rendered, set by Erica Holscher and costume by Erica Holscher. And in Studio
gorgeous.
5, how many, villages have been created in Studio 5? And like you said, Jane, and right there, you just see the whole world, Jane, in your face, in your eyes.
Yeah.
And then Melissa, the mayor, trying to figure it all out.
Yes.
It's great. Yeah, let's move ahead. Another David Stanger and Melissa, and it's again, Jane.
Look how close everybody was back then. Nobody was wearing masks.
Yeah. Isn't it interesting to think Tomas, you talked about Madwoman of Chaillot, we had 20 some odd people, including your daughter, Sonja, on stage during that production in Studio 5. I don't know that that'll ever happen again.
Nope.
Let's move ahead.
Never again.
And the aforementioned puppets we'll see a little bit more of the puppets and Jane near the end of the show. We have a lovely little video. Dan Barland so beautifully voiced these guys. How was that working with the puppets, Jane?
Oh, they were such fun. I mean, it was a bright part of the show for me. I loved them. I mean, I just loved them. We all did. I don't know, but they were great.
They were little people puppets.
Yep, they were beautifully done and performed, and great break. Yeah,
some fun. Let's see what else we got. There we go. Cassie, Bob, Carlos, Mark Williams, Jimmy Guckin, and there's John. and
Carol
Carol Florence
Yeah.
at the Bethany Mission Gallery. I don't know.
Wow.
That was such a fun show. Wouldn't you think, John? Did you think that was fun, or was it hard? Or was it both?
Well, it had its challenges, as well as its, it was, certain scenes were fun. Others were, I was more in trying to keep the moment charged and that, and you know, the emotions of each scene. Overall, yes, it was a fun production, and here you can really see the artwork on the walls. And one other thing I wanted to mention about the Bald Soprano, to get back to that, is the influence of the art in both productions was slightly different because of the time in which it was set. And in this production of Eccentricities, the artwork, it's so much of Americana. And that play, set in a nondescript town in the South.
Glorious Hill.
Yes, it just also, that artwork kind of, I tried to pull that into my character. He was definitely hiding his own identity within the culture of the town, and so much of that artwork is just some sort of catharsis breaking through. I find in the artwork, in what's being stated in the painting or the photos or what have you. So I really enjoyed that space.
Yeah. The concept of, like, Jane, we talked about this a little bit to you for your monologue in Eccentricities as well. The idea of how much energy and pain and joy comes off the art on the walls, and it just is there for you, right? When we were working on your long, you know, your monologue as Mrs. Weinmiller.
Yeah, there were also antique toys in these glass cases, and you know, we didn't really reference them that I can remember, as far as the Museum of Mechanical Wonders that you know, Jane keeps referring to, but they added the flavor to the set, to the environment, as well as those circus posters. Found it really added to the environment.
Yeah, let's move ahead. There's
what I
more
mentioned.
as we're talking. There's more. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
Go ahead, John.
It really, that's what I was referring. You phrased it much better. The joys and the wonders and the pain in that play is just has so many echoes in that gallery.
Well, in that window,
some of the art.
Go ahead.
Some of the artwork is period to a certain more racist time of America, and it's there. And so that's always, you know, that was something that was not spoken in the play or addressed at all. But you got to think that, well, it's set in the Deep South, of course, it's there. And there was so much in that gallery that just lent itself to that play.
Yeah, it was it's an extraordinary gift. I mean, the challenge of working around the space, to be able to be heard, to be seen, to be, you know, and it was a challenge for the audience as well, to have to, you know, sort of maneuver around to be able to see what was going on. But the greatest challenges are often produce some of the best rewards. You know, let's keep going. Erica, feel free to kind of you can take it and just move it through, and we'll comment as you go. Jane, oh Lord, that the manger.
We had the
Jane
nativity.
would play with the nativity every night and take people away from the nativity.
Away and
turn them around, make the animals talking to each other. I'd come out there and she'd have a new tableau every night. There's, you see, you're doing it, caught in the act. Totally.
She's He's playing chess.
You
That's
gotta
great.
do what you gotta do, Jane.
Yeah, she's like, I am done this screaming woman. I am
That's a
moving.
great shot, Jane.
Yeah, it's a really good shot, Jane.
What's my next line?
Yeah, yeah.
Where'd it go?
No,
Play am I doing?
Yeah, right. Where are we?
no, I'm kind of in my own world there.
Oh, that's a beauty.
Aw,
Yeah,
That's a beauty,
gorgeous.
Jane.
I love that.
Bonnet and all.
Bonnet.
yeah. As she's in her world, I was kind of in mine, and I wanted to leave the world of the play and get out into my world. But yeah,
Mm.
those are two great photos, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
are.
Oh, there we go, Tomas.
There we
In
are.
front of the aforementioned, one of the beautiful circus posters of.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great shot.
Yeah, that was a hard character. It took me a long time to get into what exactly I wanted to do with him. It's a good thing we had a long run, because I think the first couple shows I kept changing what I was, I didn't think I might, okay, he's an antagonist. I don't see him as a good guy. At first, I thought he was like a bad guy. He's the one who keeps telling his daughter, stop being who you are, be like everybody else. And I thought the audience isn't going to like him. And I didn't like him at first. Then I felt sorry for him. I thought, oh, he's got this wife who's hardly there. He's got a kid who in his eyes everyone's talking about her in town as the eccentric one. And then I started to identify him. I could relate to him. There is something about him that's in me too, to a degree.
Mm-hmm. Uh-oh.
Oh,
Every
I
night,
love it.
Chad
love
are
it.
making banana split for Jane and buying new cherries.
You were enjoying that.
Good
So
part of
you
it.
got your protein every night, Jane.
Favorite
That's
moment of the
great.
show.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Beautiful. It's
So who
beautiful.
did these? Was this Erica? You doing the
Erica
shot?
did Erica did the costumes, yeah.
I
Uh-huh.
know, but who did the shooting?
Oh, Joanna, who shot these?
Austin.
Joanna Austin did all this. Yeah.
They're
Mhm.
great shots.
Yeah, she's
Yeah,
been
she's
shooting
great.
for us since 2009, since the chairs, since our very first
Wow.
chairs.
Yeah, she's good.
So let's keep going and get through the Bald Soprano. It's like, Mom, quit messing with. There we go. So that's the first production of the Bald Soprano in 2017, with a
Mm.
much more, Arlen
Ah,
Hancock as the fireman, a fire chief, a much more straight ahead sort of production of the Martins and the Smiths coming together for
That
a
was fun.
happy meal.
Yeah, one. I often try and think of other people or actors in roles that I do, and in this earlier production, I was hearkening back to more silent era comedians like
Yeah.
Stan Laurel and
Buster Keaton.
yeah, that kind of look, and then
Which slowly gave way to
Yeah,
something that we
baby.
never identified.
well, this is more Dudley Moore.
Looks
Yeah.
deadly.
So I-
Right.
You're
It's like,
really-
hey,
you're-
baby.
And Bob's just sort of like,
Yeah, baby.
what? What is
That
Bob?
was fun.
So
That was so fun.
yeah, Sonia, there were nights where I would look over at you and be like, what's with the dress tonight, Sonia? Are we going for, what show are we doing? It's great.
We figured it out. was
Yeah.
good.
Oh yeah, it was great. And so in this production, the role of the fire chief, in the same way that Tomas, you talked about the role of, of Mary being very different in that second production, the fire chief took on a much more body, kind of in your face in the sense of like, I've got this. Like I felt like between Mary and the fire chief, they were really telling us a bunch of nim nuts what was happening.
Yeah.
The fire, I mean, and that polypoid speech of yours, Tomas, was really frightening in the production last year because it was happening.
Yes,
Yep,
yes.
yep.
Now I see Ionesco never knew it when he wrote it, but he was talking about the pandemic as it could have been anything he was talking about, but now we've got the pandemic. He's talking about everything. The fire caught fire. Now we're having new strains of the virus. The virus itself is
It never ends.
yeah.
Yeah.
On the wildfires in California. And
So John, what planet are you on in this photo?
Nice.
You and Bob are on separate planets.
He just took a hit of LSD and he zoned out. That's what it was.
It's just that. Well, you always have to have somebody looking in an off direction to make a perfect album cover. And
and meanwhile, Mary's I don't know, that outfit was just spectacular in terms of.
I loved it.
Everybody had just an attitude in the 2020 production of like, we've just had enough or we're checked out.
Yeah. That was fun.
Yeah.
The earlier production was more of British society and its repressiveness. Whereas the second one was more Western society and its recklessness.
Yeah. Oh, just total, right? Id unleashed. Well, no good production in the IRC wouldn't be without a good stage manager. And so some of the best stories come from stage management. So let's bring to the table Chad Haddad. And Chad has been with us through the Bald Soprano and eccentricities as well. And what people may not know about Chad is that he has his degree in nursing from UPenn and a minor in theater studies. And he is, and I'm going to get it right here, Chad, gerontological, did I get that right? Nurse on the acute care and elders unit, which seems absolutely a perfect blending of skills to be also able to help the band of us when we get together to do a show.
Yes, most definitely. Nursing theory has helped me a lot in stage managing IRC shows, for sure.
And also the unusual and wonderful venue that we've had the privilege of working over at the Bethany Mission Gallery, but that's a bit of a challenge, right, Chad? I mean, it's not like we're all lined up in a backstage area. You've got to.
Yes, no, definitely. It's not easy to stage manage in a multiple floored area with a lot of priceless art on the walls that you don't want to damage. Some of it's on rolling walls, which is even more haphazard. But it really is a joy to stage manage in areas that are found like that aren't made for theater, because it helps add context to the work in a way that a normal proscenium theater wouldn't. And
then you had, of course, in the William Inge piece, Come Back Little Sheba, the kitchen was working. John was working in that kitchen, right? That whole front end of the show, John, is you preparing. Could you always, I don't remember, Chad, did we organize it so that you could see when we were in the kitchen, or was that basically off stage for you when you were operating sound and lights? Could you even see us back there?
Yeah, I saw you most of the time. Sometimes because of the angles, Tina, you would go like very close to the oven or the sink and turn you, and at that point, no, I couldn't see you, but most of the time I was able to see you. But that was sort of the fun of the space, was depending on where you sat for any show there, you get such a different perspective on the show than if you had sat somewhere else.
Yeah. Do you have any good dirt to dish? No show would be.
I do think.
Should the rest of us mute by now?
It's going to be coming at me, and I deserve it.
Stage managers have a unique perspective on the work that happens. I really like to see. So there's this psychiatric nurse theory of the milieu and creating a therapeutic milieu, or like an environment that's therapeutic. And I really think that that's foundational to how I stage manage. And I think that has been most helpful for when stage managing IRC shows, because if you don't have an environment that remains therapeutic at all times for all people, a lot of different feelings and emotions can rise. And so,
I don't know what
for
you
example,
mean.
You're not talking about me. You can't be talking about me. That's all I'm saying. You're talking about Jane or Sonja, but
I'm definitely talking about Jane. Yes, Jane and Tomas for sure.
Yeah, he's talking about me. I know that because I
Tomas
missed
is so hard.
No, I missed that one light cue, that one show. Remember, we had to flip switches, and we were downstairs, and we couldn't see how it affected what was upstairs. And
Yeah,
I just,
you know what? Yeah,
I hit the right switch, and I was told. Then Tina came down as soon as she left the stage and said, "The stage is dark. You know, nobody can see anything." So I realized.
In what show does an actor have to run the lights as well? I ask you.
But I from that point on, I had to hit my cue and go upstairs and peek in to be sure that it actually did the right thing on stage. Chad?
Well, I mean, and you said it before, Tomas, like to set the stage for the audience, you have upstairs, downstairs, and the light cues were literally being rigged off of the lighting for the gallery, which was extraordinary and wonderful. But because Chad couldn't, right? You couldn't
the lack of
Chad,
control,
because they had to be controlled on the wall.
lack of control I had for the lights was very nerve-wracking for me going into the show. And then when that happened, thankfully the show was during the day. It was a matinee, so it wasn't completely dark like it would have been if it were a nighttime show. However, I think everyone in the room was very dumbfounded by why the lights in the house were not on when everyone started talking. And it's a hard place to be in, because in that moment sitting there, I know it's wrong, and I have the feeling everyone else knows it's wrong, but there's no easy way for me to communicate to Tom, who's supposed to do the light, that he has to hit the light cue, and there's no easy way for me without drawing attention to do the light cue myself. So that's a good story to speak
because it's not like you're in a booth.
There's no booth.
There's always
it speaks to the difficulty
you're sitting, you're on the stage
of doing theater in spaces like that. But
there's always two plays going on.
Mm-hmm.
There's the play that you're doing, and then noise is off.
Exactly.
Yes, that's
exactly.
I go flying down the stairs. Tomas, there's no light.
I remember he came backstage the next day. He came in the dressing room and said, he started talking in general terms. Everybody be clear about what switch you're supposed to hit when you're supposed to hit. I knew he was talking about me. He didn't mention my name, but
yeah, I think it's like kindergarten teacher, the way I discipline people. I make people very quietly know I'm talking to them.
You do.
Even though I don't point any fingers.
Yeah, so I'm hanging out in the back, like the back area of the gallery, waiting, and you're so great. You're like, I really don't want to have to come out here and talk to you again.
That's exactly what I said.
I'm like,
okay, Dad.
You were great. I was like, okay, nurse. No, you were great. You were great. So I think, Jane, one of my favorite moments was when we did a little promotional video for The Enchanted, when you had a little discussion with Gilbert, one of the puppets in The Enchanted, and we discussed how one can learn to be a better actor. And I would love to share that with the audience right now and get your running commentary on it. And there we go.
Come on, Charles, we gotta get the pizza.
And we'll have pizza at the same time.
Okay, you can pop up anytime, Gilbert.
Okay, hold on, I'm fixing my hair.
You don't have to fix your hair.
Yes, I do. Miss Jane Moore is here. I have to look my best.
You,
You like that?
I do.
Yeah.
And you have a yellow ribbon in your hair.
I do.
I like that.
Yeah. So, Miss Jane,
What?
I have some questions.
Okay.
We have been working together for some time now.
Yes, we have.
Now, I think you're the best actor ever.
Oh.
Yeah, the critics
Think
agree.
you're pulling my legs, you.
No, but I want some advice.
Okay.
I want to be a good actress like you.
Okay.
What can I do better?
Listen. I know you like to take center stage.
I do.
I know.
I deserve the focus.
I know, Gilbert, but you know what? Sometimes you have to share the stage with the other puppets.
Why?
Or people.
But Daisy smells.
What?
Yeah,
No.
yeah. We've hit that age, Jane, and she doesn't use deodorant. Oh,
Well, look at you. I hear you want to pick your nose on stage.
I don't want to. I have to.
Oh, you can't.
Why?
Well, because that is kind of vulgar.
Oh, but it's runny.
Well, then you have to take care of it before you go on stage.
I'm taking care of it now.
Okay, but you're not on stage right now, are you? No?
This is our set.
I know, but we're just pretending right now.
Don't tell Chris I'm doing that. He's already given me a note. So, anyways, Miss Jane,
What?
else can I do? I can listen.
Well, you
I can share.
You could, I don't know, you could stop swishing your hair so much.
But why? It makes me look good.
I know, but then, then it, see what I mean?
No.
Well, everybody looks at just you.
Yeah.
And you
it's
have,
great.
But you have to share the stage with other people and other puppets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Miss Jane. Have a
You're
hug.
so welcome.
Love you.
I love you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Every time I watch that, Jane, I just think like, you know, it's just a lesson for all time.
Talk about taking stage. He sure knew how to do it.
Yeah, but to bring
was
those
great.
puppets alive, all the puppeteers that worked on that show, and to really give them heart and soul. Well, y'all, it's almost 6 o'clock, and I think we could make this a slumber party of sorts and just keep going. There's so much to talk about.
This was thank you, Tina.
Well, I felt like midwinter, it was just a really good opportunity for us to just get together and remind ourselves of, like, there will be a life on the stage and in the arts and in the studios and places around the world where people are creating things. And I just count you all among the folks who have really made the IRC's work sing over the years, in addition to a lot of other people. I can't thank you enough. So anybody have any parting thoughts?
I
Onward,
miss you
upward.
all.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody stay well, stay healthy, and
There
we'll
you
be
go.
back together
Mm-hmm.
at some point.
We will.
That's right.
It is
Stay
good
safe.
to look. It's good to look back, right? Though you forget sometimes the moments, the stepping stones to getting there. You know.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
Reminiscence is so important.
Yeah, it is. And Chad, thank you so much for your words of wisdom about corralling a bunch of artists.
Anytime.
Yeah.
It could take no one less than
Herding cats.
I
person.
could write a book.
Please do. Please do. Definitely. All right, y'all. Thanks. Take care of yourselves until we meet
Thank
again.
you.
We'll do this
Thank
Thursday.
you.
All right, thanks.
It was fun.
Bye. And thanks to everybody who joined us this evening. And gosh, it's just good to be able to gather with you every week. I hope you'll be with us next Saturday, February the 6th, when Tanisha Ford, who runs First Person Arts here in Philadelphia, she's the marketing and communications director over there. And we're going to talk to her about her work with First Person and also her work as an actress in New York and Philadelphia. And it's going to be a fun conversation. I'm sure you probably know a lot about First Person Arts, but if you don't, Tanisha's here to tell us all about it and to share that. And in the meantime, just wishing everybody a very safe week ahead. Wear your mask, take care of each other, and thank you so very much for joining us and being a part of making it happen here at the IRC. Be well.